Good evening and welcome. I am just waiting for Warren Miles, Warren Miles pick up. Okay, so don't forget, guys, to leave the message. If you've got any messages at all, leave them in the message column and we'll get it. And I hope everybody's had a good day. Bit sunny today again, where I live, and I hope you have had a good day. Um, while Warren's trying to get on, or when he comes on, I really want to kind of like we know everything about about mental health in adults and everything, but what I want to do tonight is talk about mental health with children, and what I want to do is I want to kind of like look at the signs, the actual signs of mental health, how you know how we can recognize the signs that a child may be struggling with their mental health can be really hard. And we've got we've got to advise to help and support children who may be experiencing depression, anxiety, suicidal feelings, or self harm. So that's what I really want to have a look at tonight. And if you want to join in the conversation, please do. And at the end of the day, we are an open book. We don't judge. So yeah, there you go. So what I want to look at really at the moment is this that um, I want to look at the side of like depression in a child and everything. And let me get my notes up. So depression, anxiety, and mental health, right? When a child is so how to spot the signs of a child if the child has mental health problems. Now you're probably thinking, well, um, it's only a child, but did you know NSPCC has reported that a child can one get depression, two get anxiety, and three, of course, mental health. And so, what I want to do is I want to talk about. I'm talking. It's like talking to a child worried about the coronavirus, right? Now, through the coronavirus, a lot of children um, has been feeling low, depressed, and things has been putting pressure on them. And what we're trying to do is that the government is trying to kind of say, hey, hang on for a second, what's going on here, you know? And so what we're doing at the moment, so how can we kind of cope? And what I want to do is I want to talk about that and wait for Warren to come in, and we can talk about it because many people don't realize that a child can suffer with mental health. All right, and they actually can suffer with mental health. So, how do we know the signs of a child when they got mental health? Um, so, you know, um, how do we know the signs when a child is, kind of like with mental health or whatever? So, what I want to do is I want to kind of look at that side of it and go through um, some scenarios with you. Now, I'm sorry if I'm a bit confused at the moment. It's that I'm trying to do two things at once, and I'm finding it very difficult. I'm only a man. So let's have a talk about it. So a lot of young people has been going through like with their families and everything, like the coronavirus. They've been talking about their feelings. They've been talking about their worries, um, and things like that. And the trouble is, some children do get worried, and any child can get what you call mental health or anxiety and depression. You might not believe it, but they can. How do we kind of like, how do we notice that? How can we kind of like get to grips with that? Well, that's easy because what we can do is we can actually we can look at statistics uh, in like in the news or all around the world and everything and say, right, okay, this child is suffering with mental illness, but what is the parent doing? And sometimes the parent wouldn't even know, wouldn't even know that the child has a problem, mental health problem. Now, my guest tonight is Warren, and what's Warren Miles Pickup? And what it is, his daughters and he's been dealing with, if you know him, his children has been through the same as this, been having problems and everything. Hello, Warren, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good, thanks. Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's been an interesting 8 months dealing with exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, how have you been coping with it? Because a lot of people, a lot of people are saying that your children cannot get kind of like depressed, anxiety. They can't kind of like be suicidal because there's protection there. They're saying that a family member or the mum and dad should be in support, but sometimes the child doesn't even want to know that they have got to their parents that
Yeah.
they have got a problem.
I think the people that are saying that don't have a full understanding of how brain chemistry works. That there are chemical imbalances that can take place that cause those sorts of things. So it as much as we would hope that kids can't get these sorts of things, they definitely do. I have two children that have been diagnosed with anxiety now, and I have my middle one, my 8-year old, who has been diagnosed with depression and has been suicidal for 8 months. And so, in terms of how are we doing, well, it depends on the day. We have good days and we have bad days. The last week has been pretty good, but a week before that, we had her in the hospital at the point where she was going to be committed because it wasn't safe for her to be at home.
Mm.
She felt as though she didn't deserve to live and walked up to my wife. She'd taken a knife from my in-laws house and held it up to her own throat and said, "Mom, can I?" And that's, as a parent, is incredibly scary, that she would think of doing that. And some people will say it's a cry for attention or that sort of thing.
Is
It's
it a
not.
cry?
This
Is
is
it a cry for? Is it cry for attention, or is it more serious than that?
this is much more serious. This is a girl who does not believe that she deserves to live. She gets into these shame spirals whenever something goes wrong, or if something that she feels embarrassed about takes place. She spirals into a mental state where she does not want to live. And it's not about getting attention. She gets a lot of positive attention from her mother and I. This is about her not being able to deal with feeling bad or feeling as though she's made mistakes or those sorts of things. It's an excess of perfectionism that has
Yeah.
caused her to become incredibly anxious, very impulsive. She's going through the process of being diagnosed with ADHD on top of these other two illnesses, and so it's a lot for her little brain to handle.
Of course, and and when people say, that children kind of like can't get, don't get like they don't have mental health problems, they're talking out of their hat. Let me say something to you. I've got something here. Got some figures up here. There were 200,000 children who went to Childline for counselling sessions.
Yeah.
Um, and what else have I got here? Yeah, okay. Mental or emotional health was the top concern for young people
Yeah.
in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, the Children's Suicide Hotline here in Canada
Yeah,
has. I was reading a report the other day. They were saying something like a 300 or 400% increase in the number of calls over the last year.
yeah. And how about this? 6,646 children who were suffering with mental health with the age limit of 11 and under last year committed suicide.
Well, that's a very scary statistic. To think that a child under 11, I mean, I'm going through this myself, would not get the opportunity to live out their life and find their passions and happiness is a very, very sad thing. And so, what we spend a lot of our time doing is trying to help our daughter, Allie, find those things that she can be passionate about and embrace and look forward to.
Yeah. Do you when so is she getting like psychiatric help now, is she?
Yes, yeah, we have a couple of counselors that she deals with. She deals with an institution in Canada called the Child and Youth Mental Health Organization,
All
and so
right,
they
yeah.
have a counselor, and then she additionally has a psychologist that she deals with, and another family counseling service that brings my wife and I in, so that we can develop the tools and skill sets to be able to deal with what we're going through.
Mm.
So we spend a lot of time in counseling offices.
Yeah.
So
Can you tell me what that brings? Can you tell me what that brings on with her problems?
Mhm.
You know what triggers it? Does it is she being bullied at school
She
or
was. That was the original cause of kind of the first set of spirals that took place as we found out that she was being bullied at school. Um, Now it's developed a lot more into some issues that she has with her older sister and with embarrassment and shame and with a desire to be perfect. And so there's a lot of different things that can set her off. The number one thing seems to be disagreements between her and her older sister. That tends to send her spiraling. But in addition, when things don't go her way, when something like if she's trying to accomplish something and she fails at it, she feels shame and embarrassment over trying to do it and not being able to do it. And that tends to send her into a bit of a spiral. And unfortunately, when things like that happen, it all kind of compounds on her. And that leads her to feeling like she doesn't deserve to live because she blames herself for everything.
yeah. Because my topic tonight was because uh, we was having problems connecting about
Yeah.
kind of like about children and about dealing with children can kind of like about children overcoming mental health.
Yeah.
Because not many people think can children get have mental health problems? Of course they can.
Yeah.
And the trouble it's like with your daughter, and it's with your daughter. Is she kind of like is she very jealous of your oldest daughter?
No, it's more the other way around. The oldest is jealous of the middle one, and so we've had some issues recently with the older one wanting to try to hurt herself in order to get the attention that the middle one is getting.
Ah,
And
right.
so it's a problem. I mean, I have three daughters, right? And so whenever one of them is receiving a disproportionate amount of attention, the other two start to act out in order to try and get that attention. And so we have a difficult time trying to rebalance the attention all the time to each of them. Three kids is a challenge. It's
Yeah. I guess yeah.
yeah,
My partner had six, and that was a challenge.
yeah. That would be a significant
Yeah.
challenge. So
I've got a question for you.
yeah,
Doug from Dallas says, "Hi Steve, I love your program each week. Um, I didn't see Warren here last week. No, he had time off. He had some time off. Could you ask Warren how does he cope when all three girls are bickering? Do you kind of like feel like banging your head against some wall or something?"
constantly. It's difficult. I've gone through a lot of personal training and trying to create muscle memory for dealing with that situation where I don't burst out and start yelling. Like, yelling used to be my first response when that sort of thing happened. And I've discovered that is completely, one, ineffective, and two, detrimental to my relationship with the girls. And so I really have tried to pull back from the idea of yelling and more reframing and getting to an understanding of why the situation is happening. And so going in and asking questions about what has taken place, and trying to actually resolve the underlying issue rather than just reacting to the bickering and screaming and yelling that's taking place. So it's something that takes a lot of practice. And a lot of people will say, well, I could never do that. But the reality is, once you start to create a habit for something, once you've built that muscle memory, it becomes much easier to do. Now, I went and got brain training to try and help me with this, where I did neuropsychotherapy, where they actually altered my brain waves in order to make it so that I wasn't as reactive to situations. So I took it a bit of a step further, and I would recommend that anybody look into that. There's a place in Vancouver, it's called the Swingle Clinic, that I went to. But in reality, it's just a muscle memory thing that you have to create to be able to address those types of situations without exploding, because the desire to explode is still there. Like it's that natural reaction of just going, what is going on, is always going to be there, but it's a matter of choosing not to do that.
Okay. And how do you cope when things are kind of like spiraling out of control, when your wife joins in and all four of them, goes off on one?
I'm very fortunate that my wife is the calmer individual in our relationship. So generally we kind of tag team. And so we'll tag each other in and out to give the other a little bit of a breather, so that we can step back in and come in with a rational, calm head. So if Rachel sees my aggravation starting to creep up, she'll go, okay, I'll take it from here. Or if I see the same thing with her, I will go in and say, Rachel, would you like me to step in? And that gives her the opportunity to say yes or no, so that I'm not undermining her. One of the big issues in our relationship for a long time was that I would white knight every situation. So anytime she was having a disagreement with the girls, I would step in and take over and try to fix it. But that just destroyed her credibility with the girls and the ability to solve the situation. So I had to start asking permission to step in. And that's led to a better relationship between her and the girls, and a better relationship between her and I.
Right. Okay. Good. Do you find when you kind of like when you're in, it reminds me of tag team. It reminds me of WWE.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is, right? Think of it like we're just wrestling with three very small wrestlers who they don't follow the rules. They're willing to do anything and say anything to get their way.
So they do pick up a can and
that's right.
At you
that's
and
exactly
a
right.
bottle and everything. Yeah. Let's ask a question. Amanda from all the way from New Zealand. Hello. Hi Steve. Lovely shows each week. Can I ask a question? Certainly can. I have got a 3-year-old, and the trouble is, at the moment, I've been told that she's not sleeping well at night, and she's having a fit. Also, found out that she has a bit of a personality disorder problem. When I was reading that just now, I'm not trying to be horrible, but I'm not a doctor or a medical person. But a personality disorder at 3.
No, it can happen. You can start to develop oppositional defiance disorder and those sorts of things at that age. It's very possible. That would be a very early diagnosis, but it's I've heard of people having those sorts of things. It's figuring out what that personality disorder is and learning the tools to be able to deal with it. And the biggest thing is going to be coping mechanisms. Teaching both yourself and your daughter how to deal with that will be incredibly important, so that life isn't as challenging. And we've seen that with our oldest daughter for 10 years now because of her extreme ADHD. She has a real difficult time socializing with other kids. And so we've had to teach her coping mechanisms to be able to develop those relationships so that she doesn't push people away from herself because she's so manic that other kids have a difficult time dealing with her. And so, it's just a matter of learning tools and teaching them tools to be able to deal with the way that their own brain works. In terms of sleeping, I can't give you a whole lot of advice there. My 10-year-old still wakes up every night, and our 6-year-old still tries to climb into our bed every single night. And sleep has been something that has been an extreme challenge in our household the entire time we've had kids. So I don't mean for that to sound dire, like, you could be dealing with this for forever. More for it to sound optimistic in that even if sleep is a challenge, you'll get through it. Like it's hard, but it's not the end of the world. And I know when you're sleep deprived, it feels like it's the end of the world, but it's not. It's something you get through, and you kind of adapt to a different sleep schedule and to those sleep challenges.
Are you having any more?
Any more kids?
Yeah.
No. My wife, after our third, my wife developed some medical issues and wound up having to have a hysterectomy. So we're not capable of having any more kids. But even with that, our third daughter was 31 hours of labor. I turned to my wife afterwards and I said, after watching you go through that, there's no way I would have another kid. I couldn't watch my wife go through that pain again.
No. I just don't like it when you go into labor and they just tell you that you're horrible, you smell, you go away. I don't care. You don't care about me. They tell you all different stuff, don't
you
they?
mean the screaming, "You did this to me," sort of thing?
Yeah.
Well, in reality, we did. So, we kind of have to take ownership over that.
I remember when I had to cut the cord. That was it. I fainted on the floor on my first one.
Did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
I did that. My second one was born in the back of an ambulance. We didn't make it to the hospital. So she was born in the back of an ambulance on the side of the highway. And I cut the cord in the back of the ambulance. And that was quite the experience.
Yeah, it does. But at the end of the day, they're lovely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
but the
they
trouble
are.
is, when they get older, they're a pain in the backside. Promise me.
Yes, but at the same time, I can't tell you the number of times I turn to my wife. So my oldest daughter right now is away with my parents for 2 weeks. So we've only got the younger two. And for the past couple of days, we've been looking at each other going, geez, 2 is so much easier than 3. And like, why did we ever have 3? And then I look at them and I go, I can't imagine my life without their personalities, challenges and all. I cannot imagine going through life not knowing these 3 incredible human beings. Like the world would be worse off without them.
Yeah, you're a very lucky man. You got 4 women. You got 4 women in your life, and I just feel sorry for you in the morning. You try to get ready, and all of a sudden, I want the bathroom. Oh no, hang on for a sec. I have the bathroom. I'm a girl,
We're fortunate enough that they each have their own bathroom, so we haven't run into that issue yet. But
all right, yeah. Hiya, what? Isabel. All right, okay. You haven't told me where you come from. Okay. Detroit. All right, okay. Hi, Steve. I have got a 6-year-old. She's climbing the walls at night. Well, I feel that she's climbing the walls at night every time she lands, every time she tries to climb and everything. I think she's trying to kind of be like Spider-Man or something, but the trouble is she's climbing on the headboard and everything, and also jumping off. She's having problems sleeping at night. And again, sleeping at night, keeps on jumping off furniture, making a nuisance of herself.
yeah,
Next door neighbours has been complaining, what can I do? Well, what can you do?
yeah, outside exercise. That's the best thing. Get them to burn it off. We do a dog walk before, so after dinner and before the bedtime routine is taking the dog for a walk and letting them throw the ball for the dog, that sort of thing. Just trying to
So
tire them
after
out.
the 6-year-old, kind of like being kind of like up and things like that, and being kind of like, jumping around. That's.
My 6-year-old's like that. Last night she was doing cartwheels in our bedroom, and handstands and stuff at 8:30 at night. That's just something kids do, and you got to let them burn it off. I mean, the reality is, if they miss an hour of sleep, we did an episode of this in our podcast about the missing hour of sleep, and it does affect their brain the next day. But the important thing to recognize is it's not the end of the world. They will catch up on that sleep.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as much as sleep is incredibly important for brain development, you're not hurting your child by, being patient and dealing with them wanting to stay up and burn off that energy. You do more good in developing a relationship through those types of situations than you do harm in allowing them to stay up. My opinion.
yeah. That's it. Okay, guys. That was quick tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the questions. That was awesome. It was great. Always great to get questions.
Yeah, yeah. It's lovely. That's why I asked now. So don't forget, guys. Every week now from now on, got any questions or anything? Please leave them in the box. Or if you're on the radio, please leave them in that little red box. And I will kind of like I will contact you, and you can kind of yeah, kind of like come back on the radio or on the program and kind of like ask the questions. I'm sorry, but I am not a medical person. I wish I could help you, but I'm not. And all I can say is that what you hear, we only can give advice, but please don't take the advice as what can I?
Gospel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's our experience.
yeah, yeah. Okay. But there you go. Anyway, Warren.
It's a pleasure. Great to see you. I look
Yeah,
forward to seeing you next
I'm
week.
going to deduct around about £500 from your pay because you turned up late.
Fair enough.
But love to all the family over there, and
Thank you. And to
I'll
yours.
see you. I'll
See you next week. Okay.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. That was Warren Barrow Pickup. I'll be back later on.